There is a radical psychological premise that treats thoughts as measurable forces, biological blueprints capable of generating physical reality. This chart shows the specific formula behind this phenomenon. An ordinary thought remains inert until it is fused with a singular, definite purpose and an obsessive level of persistence. To test this theory, we can look at a historical anomaly, an entirely ordinary man who made a singular decision. He decided he was going to become the equal business partner of Thomas Edison, the most famous and powerful inventor on the planet. We tend to assume that building massive wealth requires starting capital, elite connections, or specialized education. This case study proposes the exact opposite, that physical wealth begins purely as a highly optimized mental framework. That man was Edwin C. Barnes. When he first locked on to his goal, Barnes had precisely 0 advantages. He had no money, 0 influence, and absolutely no technical skills to offer an engineering genius. He also faced 2 immediate physical barriers. He didn't know a single person who could introduce him to Edison, and he couldn't even scrape together the cash for a passenger train ticket to Orange, New Jersey. He had to ride in the belly of a freight train to get there. But his psychological posture was staggering. He wasn't traveling across the country to ask Edison for a job. His singular, definite purpose was to work with the inventor as an equal partner. Most people let immediate physical limitations kill their ambitions on the spot. Barnes used his empty pockets and lack of connections as a stress test, proving to himself that his desire was stronger than his circumstances. Stepping off that freight train, Barnes walked up to Edison's imposing laboratory. This was a sprawling industrial empire, and Barnes was arriving at its gates with nothing but the clothes on his back. The visual contrast of their first meeting was sharp. Here was a man who looked like a vagabond straight off the streets, standing face to face with a titan of industry. Yet Edison looked right past the ragged clothes. He noted a dangerous, unrelenting intensity in Barnes's face. He saw a man who had completely made up his mind. Edison later explained why he gave him a chance. His years of managing people had taught him that when a man is willing to bet his entire future on a single goal, leaving himself no way to retreat, he is practically guaranteed to win. Barnes didn't get the partnership that day. Instead, he was offered a menial, low-paying job on the factory floor, doing basic repairs and sweeping up around the heavy machinery. Securing a position at the bottom of the ladder provided the necessary entry point. It put Barnes inside the laboratory, turning his abstract goal into a tangible daily presence within Edison's world. Months passed. Barnes spent his days performing trivial, exhausting tasks in the factory, seemingly miles away from the executive desk he wanted. This graph illustrates the disconnect between his reality and his mind. His physical progress was a stagnant line, while his desire compounded exponentially. This flat line is exactly where most compromise. They complain about pay or swap their lofty goal for an ordinary job. Barnes avoided this trap through the psychological principle of readiness. He had committed to remaining mentally prepared to strike the moment an opportunity appeared, regardless of how many years he had to push a broom first. The catalyst finally arrived when Edison finished developing a new dictating machine, initially called the Ediphone. The immediate reaction inside the company was incredibly negative. Edison's own well-dressed sales force looked at the clunky device and decided it would be nearly impossible to sell to businesses. But opportunity rarely announces itself with a brass band. Often, it sneaks through the back door, wearing the disguise of misfortune, temporary defeat, or an unwanted problem nobody else wants to touch. Where the professional salesman saw a guaranteed failure, Barnes saw a bridge. This rejected machine was the exact vehicle he needed to close the gap between sweeping floors and sitting at the partners' table. Having a definite purpose acts as a strict cognitive filter. It allows a person to instantly recognize and seize a disguised opportunity that leaves the general public completely blind. Barnes immediately marched right into Thomas Edison's office and pitched him on letting a floor sweeper sell the unwanted machine. Edison agreed, and Barnes launched a massive, relentless sales campaign. The campaign was an overwhelming success, leading to a massive national distribution contract. Soon, offices across the country featured the famous slogan, "Made by Edison, installed by Barnes." The exact financial return is difficult to pin down, but estimates suggest Barnes transmuted his invisible thought into a fortune of $3 million. The millions he earned were almost secondary. His ultimate triumph was proving that the psychological framework of transmuting a thought into physical reality is a reliable, repeatable system. Barnes didn't win because he possessed natural sales talent. He succeeded because his mind was completely consumed by a singular, unyielding obsession. Casual wishes remain idle, but a definite purpose backed by total commitment produces concrete results. For Barnes, this internal focus converted a rejected invention into a national sales infrastructure. Look closely at your own ambitions. Are you harboring a simple wish that will vanish at the first sign of friction, or do you possess a Barnes-level definite purpose? All of your current physical limitations are completely irrelevant, as long as your mind is calibrated to identify opportunity when it finally arrives.